been made. Senator from Scott.
I yield to the senator from Clark for action on the bill.
Senator from Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2020, as we all know, was a pretty rough year. The governor gave orders and changes that were often arbitrary and lacking on the basis of studies, decisions that were often made that were uneven in their application, decisions that produced confusion and anger, economic destruction, instability, and division. This is a governor that has no communication, who mocks the citizens of the Commonwealth and who is dismissive of others, who doesn't build consensus, is unwilling to even listen to opinions opposite of his own. Now, November the 3rd, the citizens let this governor know how they felt about his approach to government. The citizens informed us, their representatives, that they wanted stability and predictability, and this bill is an attempt to do just that in 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic has created economic hardship unlike anything we have ever seen. And while Kentucky has weathered other recessions and economic downturns in the past, in 2020, businesses endured challenges brought about by policy intended to stop the spread of COVID-19. The business community stepped up to do their part to stop the spread. Some businesses closed as ordered by the governor. Others greatly curtailed operations as ordered by the governor. And in response, Kentucky set records for the number of Kentuckians receiving unemployment benefits. The unemployment insurance system is intended to provide support to those who become unemployed through no fault of their own, and it is a necessary system to support unemployed Kentuckians as they search for work. The system is funded entirely by employers, both public and private. And over the year, the trust fund balance, which was healthy at the start of the year, dwindled down to $0. And state benefits are now paid out from a loan from the federal government. Federal law requires that this loan must be repaid and provides for mandatory increases in the federal unemployment taxes to be paid by employers to repay the loan unless it's otherwise paid through increases in state unemployment taxes or other sources. Because of the depletion of the trust fund and negative balance, the tax schedule set by statute will change for 2021. Employers that pay into the trust fund with a payroll tax will start paying the tax based on the highest cost tax schedule, which is Schedule E. According to a forecast prepared for the Kentucky Chamber, this increase will cost employers $100 per employee on average for 2021. Even employers that didn't lay off any workers will see this increase because the tax paid by an employer is based on two variables: the health of the trust fund and experience rating based on the charging of unemployment compensation to individual employer accounts. What's especially challenging is when the tax is collected because of the nature of the tax, a payroll tax on the first $11,100 paid in a calendar year. Many employers will see much of their total bill come due in the first quarter of the year when they file their taxes on April the 30th. This timing is unfortunate, as we believe employers will be better off the second half of the year compared to the first half as more people become vaccinated against the virus, schools reopen, childcare capacity improves, restrictions are lifted, and people finally get back to work. And to address this, House Bill 1 will waive penalties and interest on late unemployment insurance taxes to give employers more time to pay their tax. We don't want this tax bill to be the final straw that forces a business or organization under. And not only will that lead to more job losses and economic strain, but unemployment insurance costs incurred by employers that go under will ultimately be covered by remaining employers in the system. Employers will still be required to pay their taxes. Nothing short of funding from the federal government will stop that. But the loan will have to be paid over time and the trust fund balance returned to its healthy status. Mr. President, could you please have the clerk report Senate Committee Substitute Number 1?
Senate Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 1.
Senator from Clark.
Move adoption.
Matter for the body is adoption of Senate Committee Substitute Number 1. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Senate Committee Substitute Number 1 is adopted. Senator from Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to commend several individuals who have worked hard on this sub, and much of it is a product of some of the floor amendments that were filed to the original bill, that if members want to know where some of the ideas came from, the senator from Anderson worked very hard yesterday with the primary sponsor of this bill, also the senator from Boone, the senator from Marion. And the gentleman from Monroe was willing and open to have some of these changes made in the committee substitute, so I commend all of them on their hard work on this. The changes are few, and I'll point those out at this time, that on the first page of the substitute, on section 1, line 5, that there's an added 2 words, that it says notwithstanding any state law, that the words administrative regulation was added into that line. Also, down under subsection 1, if you look on line 12, the word in person was added in That was also one of the amendments that have been withdrawn but was also proposed as of yesterday. We also have on line 15 the word executive branch. And this was included based upon the fact that we heard some criticism from an individual who still hasn't communicated with us directly, which is the governor of the Commonwealth, who decided to use television and press conferences as a means of trying to communicate with this body. And instead of expressing concerns, either through contacting a member of the General Assembly or having a liaison come and express concerns, that is how he chooses to communicate. I would advise the governor, there's a cell phone. You can contact us. The Capitol Annex is 200 yards from the governor's mansion. Walk on over and have a chat with some of us if you have concerns about this. But when it comes that late on a Friday afternoon press conference, that's why there's a tardiness of some of these Senate committee substitutes coming forward to incorporate some of those changes and concerns from the executive branch. But the concern from the governor was that the CDC might be the only organization, and so we added executive branch in there as well, whichever is least restrictive. And that same language and those words are then mirrored also on page 2, and you can find also the term in person as well as in the executive branch listed in another subsection as well. Those are the primary changes in the sub from the original bill. Now, House Bill 1 has 5 primary points of interest. The first is any business, local government, or school can remain open and operate as long as it obtains and follows an operational plan that meets or exceeds applicable CDC guidelines or executive branch guidance now, whichever is least restrictive, details how it will foster the safety of employees, customers, and attendees and patrons, including social distancing requirements, and is posted in a conspicuous place on the main entrance of the door of the physical location and website of the business, local government, or school. A business, local government, or school can prepare its own operational plan or can utilize a plan prepared by a recognized affiliated organization, and it prohibits any state or local agency from enforcing any restriction related to the governor's state of emergency that exceeds current guidelines issued by the CDC or from the executive branch orders. The second point is that it prohibits interest and penalties on unpaid employer contributions under KRS 341.3, which is where you find unemployment insurance fund language. And it's also from being considered due, owed, and collected by the Labor Cabinet through December the 31st of 2021. The third point is it prohibits the Cabinet for Health and Family Services from restricting, modifying, or suspending valid existing court orders providing for the in-person parental visitation of children in state custody or in foster care. And the fourth and fifth points requires the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to develop regulations and guidelines regarding the visitation of family members, caregivers, friends, and volunteers who either provide regular care and support to residents in long-term care facilities or for individuals who are in critical situations such as an end of life when a critical circumstance exists. I think this is a good bill, Mr. President. I would encourage all members to support it. With that, Mr. President, I would move passage of House Bill 1 as amended by the Senate Committee Substitute.